Oh, what the fuck are you guys even talking about?
Global controls will have to be imposed, and a world governing body will be created to enforce them.
Welcome to Tinfoil Hat. We go deep, homeboy. Eric, open your mind. Drink from the fountain of knowledge. There's lizard people everywhere. That's some interdimensional shit.
I'm excited to have our next guest on. He was at the end of the big Vegas second anniversary show with Greg Carwood and our man Jason Burmese. We had mentioned his videos, and like the swarm that you are, because you are the swarm. You are the secret side of Mad Hatters, a.k.a. the swarm. You guys show up, and he was nice enough to leave a couple nuggets in the comment section on the YouTube channel. His YouTube channel, it has over 19,000 subscribers, 250 videos. He's been doing it for 2 years, over 4 million views. He recently got kicked off of Twitter, but he is here. He has a, dude, his videos opened my mind. If you thought something shady was in Vegas, this guy blew it all up. Please welcome to the show to discuss yet again. I'm so excited to go even deeper dive into the Vegas shootings of 2 years ago. Please welcome Mr. John Cullen, everybody. How are you?
I'm doing great, Sam. Nice to see you.
John,
XG, good to see you.
Thank you. It's an honor and a privilege to have you on, and I really do mean that. Your videos are just mind-blowing. Your attention to detail has really changed the way I view it. And I'm just starting to think just like 9/11, Vegas shooting has layer upon layer of deception to set the stage, set the table for one narrative when in all honesty, it was most likely a completely different narrative. What made you so passionate about this particular high impact event?
I don't know if you're aware, but I live in Thailand. And so when it occurred, 10 p.m. in Las Vegas is noon the next day in Thailand. So it was Monday at 12 noon as all this started to happen. And it actually started to show up in Facebook and Twitter. Drudge Report even was reporting on it. And so...
InfoWars. The most banned network in the world. InfoWars. Tomorrow's news today.
And notice, they don't want to discuss it. They don't want people to talk about it. They want it just to disappear and go away. Well, it's posted right now at banned.video, and people need to know what really happened. Because the deep state can stage more of these events. They can work with other countries to do it as well and then blame the American people. But as soon as it came out it was Saudi Arabia, they had to drop it very, very quickly. But as soon as it came out it was Saudi Arabia, they had to drop it very, very quickly. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Alex Jones. And a real badass is with us, Greg Reese. All this crew is amazing. I love each and every one of them. They've all got different specialties and gifts, but so we're going to get into Vegas, a very, very sad subject, but a keyhole into a larger world, and the fact that we've pretty much solved it. We know there's a cover-up, and we know from the police and the eyewitnesses what really happened, and the police know there's a cover-up, and you'll see that in this report we're going to air next segment. I've been contacted the day after it happened by the FBI that was on scene, a hostage rescue team. That's the military folks. And since then, I've been contacted by others. I had to sign a non-disclosure. I can't get in to what I know because of the non-disclosure, but I'll just tell you it adds a lot of weight to Greg's report. It's clear it's a Saudi civil war. And we know what happened after that. But this was 2 years ago today. Now, here is the report that they hope you don't see and hope you don't share. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas until now.
Famously, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, and that apparently applies to the Mandalay Bay shooting as much as anything else.
Within 2 hours of the Las Vegas massacre, authorities announced that 64-year-old Stephen Paddock had acted as the lone gunman, officially making it the deadliest mass shooting committed by an individual in the history of the United States. But 2 years later, there are still many questions with no answers. Videos from the event show no muzzle flash from Paddock's window on the 32nd floor of the Mandalay Bay Hotel. Photographs show that Paddock's windows were intact during the shooting. Police inside the room after the shooting said there was no broken window. After the shooting, a man staying at the Mandalay Bay called 911 and reported an explosion and glass falling down from above.
Emergency, Brown 15968. Do you need police, fire, or medical?
Okay, and I just heard what sounded like a explosion above me, and then glass coming down around me, or right outside the window.
Later that night, BBC television showed one window being broken. By the next morning, there were 2 broken windows. Several witnesses claimed there were multiple shooters.
sounded like there were a dozen shooters.
It sounded like more than one machine gun.
The New York Excalibur shooting was right outside. It wasn't inside, it was outside. We saw the muzzle flashes.
I'm waiting for somebody to come through that entrance because it sounds like they're on the ground.
I knew we were getting gunshots that were closer to us than where they originally started, and that's when we knew we had to run.
We all started running, and they came in.
There's a shooter in front of Hollywood right now.
Multiple shooters. It has to be.
There was also shooting going on inside of the Mandalay Bay.
Claims of multiple shooters can also be heard on security and police comms.
There was a shooter at the front desk of New York, and 2 shots were fired inside casino floor.
It sounds like it's confirmed there are at least 2 shooters with fully automatic weapons.
Now I'm getting information of an active shooter at Tropicana.
Has advised bomb squad to deal with the issue over there at Luxor, reference the 445 device.
It is be advised now there's an active shooter at the Tropicana.
In one video, we see what looks like a weapon firing from a window 6 floors above Paddock's room in the Four Seasons, which is owned by Bill Gates and Saudi Prince Al Walid bin Talal. There also appears to be muzzle flashes coming from the sky on both sides of the Mandalay Bay, precisely where flight radar places 3 helicopters that turned off their transponders minutes before the shooting began. While hovering in position overlooking the Route 91 Harvest Festival.
He's flying in a helicopter. Do you think he's in a helicopter?
Yes, not a doubt in my mind that there was shooting coming from the helicopter.
In room 32135, Paddock's hard drive was suspiciously missing from his laptop. There were several pairs of gloves, mobile phones, and multiple hotel room keys used just 30 minutes before the shooting, including smart keys available only to hotel staff. At first, police said they witnessed Paddock kill himself, and then they claim they found him dead after the breach. And for some unknown reason, his time of death was marked at noon the following day. Mandalay Bay security guard Jesus Campos was supposedly shot in the leg by Paddock 6 minutes before he began his attack. Bay security guard Jesus Campos was supposedly shot in the leg by Paddock 6 minutes before he began his attack. And yet, it took law enforcement 72 minutes to get into Paddock's hotel room. Body cam footage shows a hotel security guard directing police to the 32nd floor.
32? Yeah, 32. Is it confirmed?
And less than 10 minutes later, directing other officers to the 29th floor.
Yeah, you were that. 29th floor, that's all we got.
When the police finally get to Paddock's floor, hotel security seems strangely casual. One strolls down the hallway with his back to Paddock's room and points behind him to room 135. And they then stand calmly in the hallway with their attention fixed on the police. Hotel security manager George Umstadt was later found hiding in a hotel room and detained by police. and several key officers were never even questioned. Campos claimed he went to UMC Quick Care for treatment, but the facility stated they had no record of this. He then left the country and returned only to appear on the Ellen DeGeneres Show, owned by MGM. MGM was granted a restraining order weeks after the shooting to prevent them from destroying evidence.
I can only think of two possible scenarios here. One, completely implausible, that the Mandalay was a co-conspirator in this, which is nonsense. Or
Right.
number two, there's some kind of hostility or a trust gap developing between law enforcement and the Mandalay. Nothing else makes sense, Tucker. There's no other way to square that circle.
One theory suggests it was Saudi Arabia. Just 3 months before the Las Vegas massacre, moderate Mohammed bin Salman, known as MBS, was made the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia and was met that same day with President Trump's personal show of support. This created a civil war between MBS and his hardliner cousin, Al-Walid bin Talal. Walid bin Talal, co-owner of the Four Seasons, which resides on floors 35 through 39 of the Mandalay Bay Hotel. The theory suggests there was a failed assassination attempt against MBS. At the Tropicana Hotel that night. And that the massacre at the Route 91 Harvest Festival was a savage message of warning to President Trump. Stephen Paddock was a pilot, and according to this theory, a gun runner for Prince Al-Walid bin Talal. This would explain Paddock's wealth and access to the service elevators at the Mandalay Bay. And when the assassination attempt failed, Paddock became Talal's sacrificial lamb rather than his getaway pilot. The prince had Saudi military helicopters in the area at the time. Four weeks after the Las Vegas shooting, MBS had his cousin Prince Al-Walid bin Talal and 10 other princes arrested on corruption and money laundering charges. We don't know if this theory is correct. But a year later, the case was closed. And we are told there is nothing to the story but the 64-year-old lone gunman with no motive, Stephen Paddock.
There's no conspiracy between the FBI, between LVMPD, and the MGM. Nobody is attempting to hide anything.
For InfoWars.com, this is Greg Reese.
I saw absolutely everything. Chris Angel was just like levitating like out of nowhere. It was like unbelievable, unbelievable. It was fantastic. My friends back at home are not going to believe it when I tell them what's happened today.
Here at Nellis Air Force Base in Nevada, 128 aircraft from 6 countries have assembled for the largest air combat exercises in the world. For the next 14 days, these aircraft and their crews will undertake a simulated air war. For many, it will be the final tune-up before they go into actual combat. They call it Red Flag.
This date, June 25th, must not go unnoticed. It's the 20th anniversary of the vicious terror attack on Khobar Towers in Saudi Arabia. Most of us may have missed the anniversary since it happened over the weekend, but I know at least 19 families were painfully aware of this anniversary. It's the date their loved ones serving us in uniform were murdered. 19 U.S. Air Force personnel died in that terrorist attack. More than 350 others were injured. And who did it? Hezbollah with a truck bomb.
In October 2016, Saudi Arabia executed a member of the Saudi royal family for the first time since 1975. Although the execution decades ago was for assassinating the king, this time the member of the royal family was caught on tape firing an automatic weapon indiscriminately into a crowd of people. This harsh punishment sent waves throughout Saudi Arabia, whose population has long since accepted that the royal family is nigh untouchable. So what exactly is going on with the House of Saud? Well, at the head of the Saud family is King Salman, who holds absolute power over political decisions in the kingdom. Interestingly, succession within the Saud family has been unconventional for monarchs. Although the first king of the modern state of Saudi Arabia, Ibn Saud, was succeeded by his son, the next 5 leaders were all brothers. As a result, the relative age of each king has simply increased, with the current king assuming the role at the age of 79. Saudi royalty is originally descended from the original founder of the first Saudi state, Muhammad ibn Saud. There are actually estimated to be about 15,000 living members of the Saudi royal family, stemming from the incredible prolific Ibn Saud, who reportedly had 22 wives and used his marriages to solidify connections with other externally powerful families. But not all 15,000 members are wealthy or powerful, and in fact, true power is consolidated among roughly 2,000 members. These family members fill a number of roles throughout the government, and they are appointed by the king. In particular, the ministries of defense, interior, and foreign affairs are kept close in the family, as are the governors of the country's 13 provinces. It's also important to note that Saudi Arabia is actually controlled by 2 separate families. Besides the House of Saud, there is also the al-Sheikh family, who descended from the founder of Wahhabism, Saudi Arabia's ultra-conservative state religion. Although the 2 families work together, they each operate independent sections of the Saudi society. And in the meantime, a large number of the higher-ranking Sauds openly skirt both the country's legal system and Sharia law itself, frequently throwing parties featuring drinking, drugs, and sex.
not here in Manhattan in particular, but around the country, and other things become more popular, like trying to tear down statues.
Well, what do we have to remember? If we shouldn't forget, what should we remember?
One of the points that I make is that Al-Qaeda hit the World Trade Center in 1993. They wanted to knock one tower into the other, but they failed. They did kill a few people, but it failed. They didn't forget about us, and we were saying they're going to come back. And we kind of let our guards down, and they came back. They're not going to forget about it. So it's not like Al-Qaeda is just gone or the Wahhabist ideology is gone. They want to hit us again. They want to make announcements today that they haven't forgotten about us. And like we even get distracted by ISIS, and Al-Qaeda is kind of they're not hiding there in about 80 countries. And it's the same ideology, and they want to hit us just as bad now as they did on September 10th, 2001.